Did you know that the ancient Egyptians worshipped over 2,000 gods and goddesses? That's a lot of gods. But each one played an important role in the Egyptian pantheon. Have you ever wondered how the ancient Egyptians viewed the sun, the life-giving force that illuminated their world? Ra, the mighty sun god, held a central position in their belief system, and his story is nothing short of captivating. So grab your adventurer's hat as we embark on this incredible journey through ancient Egypt. Number 1. Ra. Ra was the most important god in the Egyptian pantheon. He was the god of the sun and believed to rule over the entire universe. Ra was often depicted as a man with the head of a falcon, and he was often associated with the pharaoh, who was considered to be the living embodiment of Ra. Ra was a complex and multifaceted god, and his personality reflected the many different aspects of the sun. He was often depicted as a wise and benevolent ruler, but he could also be fierce and demanding. He was a loving father to his children, but he was also a stern disciplinarian. Ra's relationship with the other Egyptian gods and goddesses were also complex. He was married to the goddess Hathor and had many children together. He was also the father of Horus, the god of the sky. However, Ra's relationship with Horus was not always smooth. Horus challenged Ra for the throne in one myth, and the two gods fought a long and bloody battle. So, what happened in the end? Did Ra win the battle, or did Horus? And what did this mean for the future of Egypt? Ultimately, Horus was victorious and became the new king of the gods. However, Ra did not disappear. He was still worshipped as the sun god, and he continued to play an important role in Egyptian mythology. Ra's story is fascinating, and it offers us a glimpse into the complex world of Egyptian mythology. He was a powerful and influential god, and his legacy continues to be felt today. Number 2. Osiris. Osiris was the god of the underworld and was believed to be the judge of the dead. Osiris was often depicted as a mummified man and often associated with the afterlife. Osiris' story is a tragic one, but it's also a story of hope. Osiris was murdered by his jealous brother Seth, but his wife, Isis, resurrected him. Osiris' story teaches us that there is hope for a new life, even in death. Osiris was the son of Geb, the god of the earth, and Nut, the goddess of the sky. He was the brother of Isis, Nephthys, and Seth. Osiris was a wise and just ruler, and he taught the people of Egypt agriculture and the laws of civilization. Osiris' brother, Seth, was jealous of him, so he murdered him. Seth cut Osiris' body into pieces and scattered them across Egypt. Isis, Osiris' wife, searched for the pieces of Osiris' body and gathered them together. She used her magic to resurrect Osiris, but he could only return to the land of the living for a short time. After Osiris' death, he became the ruler of the underworld. He was responsible for judging the souls of the dead and deciding whether they would be allowed to enter the afterlife. Osiris was also a god of fertility and was responsible for ensuring that the crops grew and the people could reproduce. The cult of Osiris was one of the most important religious cults in ancient Egypt. People would pray to Osiris for help in the afterlife and offer sacrifices to him. The cult of Osiris was also associated with the annual flooding of the Nile River, which was seen as a symbol of Osiris' resurrection. Number 3. Isis. Isis was the goddess of magic, and she was also the wife of Osiris. Isis was often depicted as a woman with the horns of a cow, and she was often associated with motherhood and protection. The story of Isis is long and complex, but here are the basic details. Isis was the daughter of Geb, the earth god, and Nut, the sky goddess. She was also the sister of Osiris, Seth, and Nephthys. Isis was married to Osiris, and they had a son named Horus. Osiris was the rightful ruler of Egypt, but he was murdered by his jealous brother Seth. After Osiris' death, Isis went on a quest to find his body and bring him back to life. She eventually found all his body parts except his penis, which a fish had eaten. Isis used her magic to revive Osiris, but he could only return to the world of the living as a spirit. Isis then raised Horus as her son. and he eventually avenged his father's death by defeating Seth. Isis is often depicted with several symbols, including the throne, the vulture, and the sistrum. The throne is a symbol of Isis's power and authority. The vulture is a symbol of her motherhood, and the sistrum is a symbol of her music and dance. Isis is also often depicted with the Ankh, the symbol of life, because she was known as the goddess of life. She was often invoked by those who were sick or dying. Number 4. Horus. Horus was the god of the sky and the son of Isis and Osiris. Horus was often depicted as a falcon-headed man, often associated with war and victory. Horus's life story is full of drama and adventure. He was born into a world of violence and intrigue and forced to fight for his very survival. But through it all, he never gave up, and he eventually achieved his destiny to become the rightful ruler of Egypt. Horus's story is a reminder that even in the darkest of times, there is always hope. It is also a story about the power of love and family. Isis's love for Horus helped him overcome all the challenges he faced, which led to his victory. Number 5. Anubis. Anubis was the god of the dead, and he was responsible for mummifying the bodies of the deceased. Anubis was often depicted as a jackal-headed man, often associated with death and rebirth. Anubis's role in Egyptian mythology was to weigh the hearts of the dead on a scale against the feather of Ma'at, the goddess of truth and justice. If the heart were heavier than the feather, the person's soul would be condemned to the underworld. But if the heart were lighter than the feather, the person's soul would be allowed to continue to the afterlife. He would prepare the body for burial, and he would then perform the necessary rituals to ensure that the soul of the deceased would be able to pass into the afterlife. He would prepare the body for burial, and he would then perform the necessary rituals to ensure that the soul of the deceased would be able to pass into the afterlife. Anubis's significance in modern culture is still evident today. He's often depicted in art and literature, and is still popular in Egyptian mythology. Anubis is also a popular symbol in the occult, and he's often used in rituals and spells. Anubis's image is often used in tattoos, and he is also a popular mascot for sports teams and businesses. Anubis is a powerful and mysterious god, and he continues to fascinate people worldwide. Number 6. Hathor. Hathor was the goddess of love, music, and beauty. Hathor was often depicted as a cow-headed woman, often associated with fertility and childbirth. Hathor was typically depicted as a beautiful woman with a cow's head. She wore a headdress with a sun disk and cow's horns, and often carried a sistrum, a rattle-like instrument used in religious ceremonies. Hathor's cow head is thought to represent her fertility and maternal qualities. The sun disk and cow's horns symbolize her connection to the sky and the sun god Ra. Thoth was the god of wisdom, writing, and magic. Thoth was often depicted as an ibis-headed man, often associated with knowledge and learning. Hathor had a complex and fascinating mythology. She was often associated with the myth of Isis and Osiris, in which she helped Isis resurrect her husband. Hathor was also associated with the myth of the sun god Ra. In this myth, Ra was said to travel through the underworld each night, and Hathor would protect him from the dangers of the underworld. Number 7. Seth. Seth was the god of chaos and the enemy of Osiris. Seth was often depicted as a red-haired man with the head of a jackal, and was often associated with violence and destruction. Seth's legacy is a complex one. On the one hand, he was a symbol of chaos and violence. However, he was also a powerful god, and his stories were adventurous and exciting. In later years, Seth came to be seen as a more sympathetic figure. He was often portrayed as a victim of circumstance, and his story was seen as a cautionary tale about the dangers of ambition. Today, Seth is still a popular figure in Egyptian mythology. He's often depicted in art and literature, and his story fascinates people worldwide. Our journey through the realm of Egyptian gods and goddesses has ended, but the tales and mysteries surrounding these divine beings are endless. Each deity leaves an indelible mark on Egyptian history and culture, from the majestic Ra to the enchanting Hathor, from the noble Horus to the enigmatic Seth. Thank you for joining us on this incredible expedition into Egyptian mythology. Stay curious and never stop exploring the wonders of the world. Until next time, fellow adventurers,